Chapter 1. The Arrival. The alien laughed, and Commander Roy Roberts gritted his teeth, his jaw clenched. The Yian delegation snickered and sneered at the sight of Earth City sprawling before them through the shuttle's viewport. Utopia was what they called their home. A perfect matriarchal society, generations ahead of Earth in science and culture, or so they claimed. Roy would be damned if he let these arrogant beings belittle his species. "Welcome to New York," Roy said evenly as the spaceport came into view. A landscape of gleaming skyscrapers and bustling industry, the greatest city on their so-called primitive dirt ball. Laros, the statuesque Yan leader, smirked at him. "Charming. I'm sure your quaint little settlements are a great source of pride," she said, her cohorts giggling. Roy squashed his irritation. By the end of this tour, Laros and her delegation would be singing a different tune. He'd make sure of it. "Oh, I think we might surprise you," he said with his most disarming grin. "Humanity is full of surprises." The shuttle descended smoothly onto the tarmac, its advanced Yan technology effortlessly integrating with the docking systems of the human spaceport. As the doors slid open, a burst of Earth's fresh air mingled with the sterilized atmosphere inside the craft, creating a blend that was both invigorating and unfamiliar to the Yan delegation. Roy led them down the ramp, his polished boots clicking against the metallic surface. The bustling activity of the spaceport enveloped them, with workers hurrying to and fro, cargo being loaded and unloaded, and the hum of machinery creating a symphony of productivity. Laros and her delegation looked around with barely concealed disdain, their expressions a mix of curiosity and condescension. "This is Earth," Roy said, spreading his arms wide to encompass the scene around them. "A planet of ingenuity, resilience, and unyielding spirit." Laros's smirk remained fixed, her eyes cold and appraising. "And yet, you are still so primitive." Roy's smile never wavered. "You might find that appearances can be deceiving. Shall we begin the tour?" Over the next few days, Roy took the Yan delegation on a whirlwind journey through Earth's most impressive landmarks and institutions. They visited towering megacities where skyscrapers seemed to touch the sky, vast industrial complexes that showcased humanity's engineering prowess, and grand museums and universities that were repositories of human knowledge and culture. As they stood atop the Empire State Building, gazing out over the sprawling metropolis below, Roy explained, "You see, on Earth, men and women work together as equals. Our strength comes from embracing the unique qualities of both genders." Laros remained aloof, her arms crossed as she observed the city with a critical eye. "Equality is a fine concept, but I see chaos in your so-called collaboration." Roy chuckled. "Chaos can be a source of creativity and innovation. It's in our nature to challenge, to question, and to strive for better." At night, Roy often caught Laros poring over history books and cultural archives with a hungry look on her face. He knew she was starting to see the depth and complexity of human civilization, even if she wouldn't admit it. One evening, as they stood on the terrace of a luxurious hotel overlooking Central Park, Roy decided to push a bit further. "Laros, what do you truly think of what you've seen so far?" She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Your world is different, less advanced in many ways, but there is a certain vibrancy, a raw potential that is intriguing." Roy nodded, satisfied. "There's much more to humanity than meets the eye. We are a species of dreamers and doers, always reaching for the stars." Laros's gaze softened slightly. "Perhaps there is more to learn from your kind than I initially thought." As the days passed, the initial disdain of the Yan delegation began to give way to a begrudging respect. They witnessed the resilience of humanity in the face of adversity, the innovation born from necessity, and the unity that emerged from diversity. Chapter 2. The Tour. As the shuttle touched down at the spaceport, Roy led the Yan delegation out onto the tarmac. Laros and her cohorts looked around with barely concealed disdain at the bustling human facility. Roy just smiled, gesturing for them to follow him. Over the next several days, he took them on a whirlwind tour of Earth's greatest achievements: towering megacities, vast industrial complexes, grand museums, and universities. At every turn, he highlighted the crucial role men had played in building human civilization. "You see, on Earth, men and women work together as equals," Roy explained as they stood atop a skyscraper, gazing out over the sprawling metropolis. "Our strength comes from embracing the unique qualities of both genders. The tour began with a visit to the United Nations headquarters, a symbol of global cooperation and diplomacy. As they walked through the grand halls adorned with flags from every nation, Roy spoke passionately about humanity's efforts to resolve conflicts and promote peace. He pointed out the diverse array of diplomats, each bringing their unique perspectives to the table. "This is the essence of humanity," Roy said, "the ability to come together despite our differences and work towards a common goal." Laros remained aloof, but Roy could see the gears turning behind her eyes. At night, he caught her poring over history books and cultural archives with a hungry look on her face. The next stop was Silicon Valley, the epicenter of technological innovation. They toured cutting-edge research facilities and met with some of the brightest minds in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and space exploration. The Yian delegation couldn't help but be impressed by the sheer ingenuity and drive of the scientists and engineers they encountered. "You see," Roy explained as they observed a team of engineers working on a revolutionary new energy source, "we are constantly pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Our curiosity and determination are what drive us forward." Laros's aloof demeanor began to crack as she watched the engineers at work, their passion and dedication evident in every movement. She asked probing questions, genuinely interested in the technologies being developed. The tour continued with a visit to the Louvre Museum in Paris, where the Yian delegation marveled at the artistic achievements of humanity. Roy guided them through the galleries, highlighting the diverse range of artistic styles and the stories behind the masterpieces. "Art is a reflection of our soul," Roy said as they stood before the Mona Lisa. "It captures our hopes, our fears, and our dreams. It is a testament to our creativity and our desire to express ourselves." Laros's eyes lingered on the painting, her expression thoughtful. "There is a depth to your art that speaks to the complexity of your species." As the days went by, Roy noticed a shift in the Yian delegation's attitude. They were no longer dismissive of humanity's achievements, but were beginning to see the value in their ways of life. Laros, in particular, seemed to be undergoing a transformation, her curiosity and respect for humanity growing with each passing day. One evening, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the vibrant city of Tokyo, Laros turned to Roy. "Your world is not what I expected. There is a resilience and a drive in your people that is truly remarkable." Roy smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "There's much more to humanity than meets the eye. We are a species of dreamers and doers, always reaching for the stars." Laros nodded, her expression softening. "Perhaps there is more we can learn from each other. Your people have shown me that there is strength in diversity and that true progress comes from collaboration." As the tour drew to a close, Roy felt a renewed sense of hope. He had seen the potential for understanding and cooperation between their two species, and he knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their shared journey. Chapter 3. The Invitation. Weeks later, Roy was surprised to receive an invitation from Laros to visit the Yian homeworld. He accepted, eager to see what life was like in a female-dominated society. What he found shocked him. The Yian cities were sterile and lifeless, their citizens moving about their duties like cogs in a machine. Everywhere he looked, he saw stagnation and conformity, a civilization that had lost its spark. As Roy interacted with the populace, he felt the weight of their curiosity and confusion. The Yian females seemed fascinated by him, drawn to his unfettered masculinity. Hushed conversations followed in his wake, whispers of dissent and longing for change. Laros was his constant companion, drinking in his every word as he spoke of freedom, individualism, and the invigorating clash of ideas. In her eyes he could see a fire kindling, a burning desire to remake her world. The invitation to visit the Yian homeworld came in the form of a sleek silver holographic device that projected an elegant message from Laros. It was both an honor and a challenge, and Roy accepted without hesitation. The journey to the Yian homeworld was a voyage through the stars, aboard one of their advanced starships. The vessel was a marvel of engineering, its sleek design and efficient systems a testament to Yian technological prowess. Upon arrival, Roy was struck by the stark contrast between Earth's vibrant cities and the sterile, ordered environments of the Yian metropolises. The Yian cities were a testament to their matriarchal society, clean, efficient, and meticulously organized. Yet, there was an underlying sense of monotony and uniformity that permeated every aspect of life. Roy's first impression was of a world where individuality was suppressed and innovation stifled. The Yian citizens moved about their duties with robotic precision, their expressions devoid of the spark of curiosity and creativity that Roy cherished in his own people. As Roy walked through the pristine streets, he could feel the weight of the Yan citizens' curiosity and confusion. They watched him with a mixture of fascination and wariness, drawn to his unfettered masculinity and the sense of freedom he exuded. Hushed conversations followed in his wake, whispers of dissent and a longing for change that the rigid Yan society had suppressed for too long. Laros was his constant companion, guiding him through the intricacies of Yan culture and society. She was a formidable leader, but Roy could see the cracks in her resolve. She was captivated by his stories of freedom, individualism, and the invigorating clash of ideas that defined human progress. One evening, as they walked through a serene garden, Roy spoke of the human spirit's indomitable drive to explore, create, and challenge the status quo. Our greatest achievements come from pushing boundaries and embracing the unknown. It's our individuality and our willingness to take risks that propel us forward. Laros listened intently, her eyes reflecting the turmoil within her. Our society values order and stability above all else, but perhaps we have lost something in our quest for perfection. Your people have shown me that there is strength in diversity, and that true progress comes from collaboration. Roy nodded, sensing the internal struggle she faced. Change is never easy, but it is necessary for growth. Your people are yearning for something more, something that only freedom and individuality can provide. As the days turned into weeks, Roy's presence began to have a profound effect on the Yan populace. His interactions with them sparked a renewed curiosity and a desire for change that had long been dormant. The whispers of dissent grew louder, and the longing for a new way of life became more palpable. Laros found herself torn between her duty to maintain the status quo and her growing belief in the need for change. She spent countless nights in deep contemplation, her mind a battleground of conflicting ideals. One evening, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the sprawling city, Laros turned to Roy with a determined look in her eyes. Your words have ignited a fire within me. I see now that our society must evolve if we are to thrive. We must embrace individuality and the freedom to explore new ideas. Roy felt a surge of hope. Together, we can build a better future for both our people. It won't be easy, but I believe in the strength of your resolve and the resilience of your people. Laros nodded, her expression resolute. We will face many challenges, but with your guidance and the support of our allies, we can overcome them. The time for change is now. As Roy and Laros prepared to embark on a journey of transformation, they knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and sacrifice. But they also knew that together, they had the power to reshape their worlds and create a brighter future for all. Chapter 4. The Rebellion. But as the light of hope spread, so too did the shadow of tyranny. The Yan authorities moved swiftly to contain the threat, placing Roy under house arrest and clamping down on any hint of rebellion. You have to let me go, Roy urged Laros as she visited him in confinement. If you keep me here, I'll only be used as a pawn against you. Laros hesitated, torn between her duty and her dreams. Then, eyebrows furrowed, she nodded. We'll free you tonight, and then the real fight begins. Under cover of darkness, Laros and her allies staged a daring breakout. Roy found himself racing through the neon-lit streets of the capital, pulse pounding with exhilaration. This was it, he realized, the first spark of revolution. As Roy adjusted to the dim light of his confinement, he could feel the walls closing in around him, both literally and figuratively. The Yan authorities had placed him under house arrest, their fear of his influence palpable. The room was stark and sterile, a far cry from the vibrant and dynamic environments he was accustomed to on Earth. Roy knew that his presence here was a double-edged sword. He was both a beacon of hope for the burgeoning rebellion and a potential tool for the authorities to leverage against Laros and her allies. Laros visited him frequently, her visits shrouded in secrecy. Each time she entered his quarters, Roy could see the weight of her decision bearing down on her. She was torn between her duty to her people and her growing belief in the necessity of change. You have to let me go, Roy urged during one of her visits, his voice low and urgent. If you keep me here, they'll use me against you. I need to be out there fighting alongside you." Laros's brow furrowed in contemplation. "You're right," she finally admitted, her voice heavy with resolve. "We'll free you tonight, and then the real fight begins." Under the cover of darkness, Laros and a group of loyalists executed a daring breakout. They moved through the city with practiced precision, their movements swift and silent. Roy's heart pounded with anticipation as they approached the perimeter of his confinement. He knew that this was just the beginning, a single spark that would ignite the flames of rebellion. The streets of the Yan capital were a maze of neon lights and towering structures. As Roy raced through the city, he could feel the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The exhilaration of freedom was tempered by the knowledge of the immense challenges that lay ahead. The rebels had gone to ground in a network of hidden hideouts, their locations known only to a trusted few. It was in these secret enclaves that Roy saw the true spirit of the Yan people, determined, resilient, and ready to fight for their future. Laros stood at the center of the rebel operations, her presence commanding and inspiring. She addressed the gathered rebels with a fervor that ignited their hearts. "We stand on the brink of a new dawn," she declared, her voice echoing through the underground chamber. "Together, we will light the fires of change. Together, we will build a new world, a better world." Roy felt a surge of primal emotion as he looked around at the resolute faces of his Yan comrades. They were united in their purpose, their determination unshakable. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and sacrifice, but he also knew that they had the strength and the will to succeed. The rebellion surged like a rising tide, Laros's forces striking with swift precision at the foundations of Yan power. Roy fought alongside them, his tactical mind and indomitable spirit a beacon in the chaos. The rebel raids hit armories, supply depots, and communication hubs, bleeding the regime dry with 1,000 cuts. Vestra, the regime leader, seethed in her citadel, watching her grip on the planet crack and splinter. With a snarl of rage, she played her trump card, the Dominion, a monstrous warship that darkened the skies, raining fire and death on the rebel forces. Chapter 5. The Spark of Revolution. As they went to ground in the rebel hideouts, Roy knew the path ahead would be fraught with danger and sacrifice. But gazing around at the resolute faces of his Yan comrades, Laros chief among them, he felt a swell of primal emotion. Together they would light the fires of change. Together they would build a new world, a better world. And if they had to tear the old one down to do it, so be it. The rebellion surged like a rising tide, Laros's forces striking with swift precision at the foundations of Yan power. Roy fought alongside them, his tactical mind and indomitable spirit a beacon in the chaos. The rebel raids hit armories, supply depots, and communication hubs, bleeding the regime dry with 1,000 cuts. Vestra, the regime leader, seethed in her citadel, watching her grip on the planet crack and splinter. With a snarl of rage, she played her trump card, the Dominion, a monstrous warship that darkened the skies, raining fire and death on the rebel forces. The spark of revolution had ignited a fire that spread like wildfire across the Yan home world. The rebels moved with precision and purpose, their strikes calculated to cripple the regime's infrastructure and disrupt their hold on power. Roy's tactical expertise was invaluable, his experience in warfare and strategy guiding the rebels through the complexities of their campaign. The raids were executed with military precision, targeting key armories to deprive the regime of their weapons, supply depots to cut off their resources, and communication hubs to disrupt their coordination. Each strike was a blow to the regime's power, a step closer to liberation. Vestra, the regime leader, watched in fury as her once unassailable grip on the planet began to falter. From her citadel, she could see the cracks forming in the foundations of her rule. Her response was swift and brutal. She unleashed the Dominion, a monstrous warship that cast a shadow over the planet, its weapons raining destruction upon the rebel forces. The Dominion was a symbol of Vestra's power, a behemoth of destruction designed to crush any opposition. Its arrival was met with a mixture of fear and determination among the rebels. They knew that defeating such a formidable foe would be no easy task, but they also knew that their cause was just and that they had come too far to turn back now. Laros and Roy stood side by side, their resolve unwavering as they watched the Dominion's destructive path. "We need a plan," Laros said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We can't let that monstrosity crush our hopes." Roy's mind raced, analyzing the situation and weighing their options. "We need to find its weak points," he said. "Every machine has them. We just need to exploit them." The rebels mobilized, their efforts focused on gathering intelligence and devising a strategy to take down the Dominion. Scouts were sent to gather information, and engineers worked tirelessly to develop countermeasures. The air was thick with tension and anticipation as they prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of their rebellion. As the Dominion continued its onslaught, the rebels launched a series of daring missions to weaken its defenses. They targeted its supply lines, sabotaged its weapon systems, and launched coordinated attacks to distract and confuse its operators. Each successful strike was a testament to their determination and ingenuity. The final confrontation was inevitable. The Dominion, wounded but still formidable, loomed over the battlefield. Roy and Laros knew that this was their moment, their chance to strike a decisive blow and turn the tide of the war. With a mixture of courage and desperation, the rebels launched a full-scale assault on the Dominion. The battle was fierce and chaotic, a clash of wills and technology. Roy led a team of elite fighters, their mission to infiltrate the warship and disable its core systems. The corridors of the Dominion were a labyrinth of steel and danger. Roy and his team moved with purpose, their every step calculated to bring them closer to their objective. They encountered fierce resistance, but their determination and training saw them through. As they reached the heart of the Dominion, Roy faced the ship's AI, a formidable opponent that controlled every aspect of the warship. The battle between man and machine was intense, a struggle of wills that pushed Roy to his limits. In the end, it was Roy's indomitable spirit and unyielding determination that prevailed. With a final surge of strength, he disabled the AI and brought the Dominion to a halt. The warship's destructive power was neutralized, and the rebels emerged victorious. A ragged cheer rose from the rebel forces as the Dominion's threat was neutralized. They had faced insurmountable odds and emerged triumphant, their resolve and unity carrying them through the darkest of times. Before proceeding, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Chapter 6. The Call for Help. "We need Earth," Laros said grimly as reports flooded in of devastating losses. "Without their ships, their soldiers, we won't stand a chance against that thing." Roy met her gaze, saw the desperate plea in her eyes. "I'll get you there, whatever it takes." The journey to Earth was a white-knuckle nail-biter, the Dominion dogging their heels. But Roy flew like a man possessed, dodging and juking through asteroid fields and nebula clouds until they reached the shining blue marble of home. "If we do not act," Laros said, her voice ringing, "the Yan's cancer will metastasize. How long until their dark shadow falls across Earth? How long until your children are ground beneath the matriarch's heel? Stand with us now, and we can forge a future where all people, all species, may live free." The humans listened, and they acted. The Allied fleet struck like a thunderbolt, the Dominion suddenly faced with an enemy that could match its awful might. Titanic energies clashed in the stellar deeps, lighting the void with the fire of gods. On the surface, rebel and human fought as one, an unbreakable brotherhood forged in blood and sacrifice. Chapter 7. The Final Battle. Vestra's madness poisoned everything it touched. Entire cities burned at her command, the death toll soaring into the millions as she flailed and thrashed in her death throes. The Allies grit their teeth and pressed on, steeled by the cold knowledge that the only way out was through. Then came the Dominion's final charge, a spear hurled at the heart of the human fleet, a suicide run, a spiteful, "If I can't have victory, none shall." Roy saw the shot, saw the one path, the only path to stop it. He gathered his strength and leaped into the jaw of the beast. The battle inside the Dominion was the stuff of legends. Roy and his chosen few carving their way through cold steel corridors slick with blood. They took the bridge in a hurricane of fire and fury, Roy himself pitting his will against the ship's monstrous AI. It was almost too late. The Allied flagship loomed in the viewports, the Dominion's prow aimed like a spear at its heart. With a wordless cry, half rage, half exultation, Roy plunged his hands into the AI core, and the Dominion slept. In that moment, a ragged cheer rose from 100,000 throats. On the Yan homeworld, in the halls of the Allied ships, on Earth. Everywhere the spark of defiance had taken hold. They all knew the end was coming. The end and the beginning. Chapter 8. The New Age. Laros smiled a fierce, exultant smile as she beheld the forces now rallying to her banner. The The final push was about to begin. The push for a new age, a better age, an age where all would be free. She took Roy's hand, felt it strong and sure in her own. The capital city loomed before them, a gleaming monument to Yan supremacy. Laros surveyed the battlefield from her command post, eyes sharp. Roy stood at her side, eyes fixed on the distant citadel where Vestra cowered. "I'll lead the ground team," he said. "We'll punch through their defenses and—" A deafening boom cut him off as the sky erupted in flame. The human fleet had engaged the Yan armada in orbit, their battle painting the heavens with streaks of plasma fire. "That's our cue," Laros said. She gripped Roy's arm, her eyes burning with intensity. "Be careful in there." Roy nodded, then sprinted to join the advancing rebel forces. Tanks and powered armor suits led the charge, smashing through the city's outer defenses. Roy weaved through the chaos, blaster in hand, pushing ever closer to Vestra's bunker. Roy's blood ran cold. He signaled his team to press on while the bulk of their forces retreated. They fought their way deep into the heart of the citadel, leaving a trail of broken Yan defenders in their wake. At last, they breached the bunker's final defenses. Roy burst into the command center to find Vestra, wild-eyed and raving, her finger hovering over a pulsing red button. "Look around you," Roy pressed. "Your regime is finished, but your civilization doesn't have to die with it. There's still a chance for peace for a new Aya." "Sister," Laros said softly, "remember when we dreamed of making Aya a beacon of hope for the galaxy? That dream isn't dead. Help us build it anew." Vestra's defiance crumbled. She stepped away from the console, shoulders slumping in defeat. Roy's mind raced. "Antimatter," he muttered. "We can use it to implode the core." He locked eyes with Laros. "If I don't make it back, promise me." "You will make it back," she insisted. "We both will." With a determined nod, Roy led the charge. They raced to the reactor, dispatching the last of the Yan loyalists along the way. Roy's fingers flew over the controls, rerouting power and setting the implosion sequence. 20 seconds, he said, adrenaline surging through him. "We need to move." They sprinted through the corridors, explosions rocking the citadel around them. Just as the reactor went critical, they burst through the exit and leaped into a waiting transport. The antimatter core imploded with a blinding flash, consuming the heart of the Yan capital in a controlled inward blast. The shockwave rippled out, shaking the ground and toppling buildings. The transport landed on a nearby hill, where Roy and Laros watched the citadel's fiery collapse. Around them, the battlefield fell silent. The Yan forces, seeing their stronghold's destruction, laid down their arms. Chapter 9. A New Dawn. In the aftermath, Roy stood beside Laros as she addressed the remnants of the Yan military. "Today we begin anew," she declared. "No more tyranny, no more oppression. Together, we will build a future of equality and freedom." The Yan soldiers cheered, their voices mingling with those of the human allies. Roy felt a profound sense of hope welling within him. This was just the beginning, the dawn of a new era for Aya and Earth alike. As the sun rose over the battered landscape, Roy turned to Laros. "You did it," he said. "You united them." "We did it," Laros corrected, a smile spreading across her face. "And we'll keep doing it, as long as we stand together." Roy nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but with Laros and their allies by his side, he knew they could overcome any obstacle. Together, they would forge a future where all people, all species, could thrive in harmony. A future built on the foundations of cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect. And as the first rays of the new dawn bathed them in golden light, Roy couldn't help but feel that, at long last, they were on the right path. The path to a truly united galaxy. If you enjoy this video, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell.